Julio, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Do you want to just start by telling us a little bit about what your business does now?
We actually developed this technology to help biomedical research scientists at university and academia, and also in the industry, especially the pharma, develop new treatment, new drugs for many diseases. We create a model that allows cells to express any phenotype that they normally have by tuning the synthetic matrix that we create. We have hundreds of different matrix on the same base technology that are tunable for different type of disease, breast cancer, pancreas, liver cancer, and also some neurological disorders as well, and also for heart disease as well. Right?
So basically, in layman's terms, you guys are 3D printing cells to replicate aspects of what's happening in terms of diseases and cancers and those sorts of things in the human body. You're able to do it at scale because of that.
We can do it at scale, reproducibly, much cheaper than today. I have one of the scientists that worked with us from the University of New South Wales. She's a professor there. He said that she was able to afford only one PhD student doing 3D cell culture because it was the most expensive PhD student she ever had because the cost of doing that. Now, and also the other thing I did is we create an instrument that's very simple. I have this idea when I was doing my PhD at Prince of Wales Hospital. And at the time, the technology was not there for me to do what I wanted because I was growing all these bladder cancer cells in the 2D culture to do my experiment, my PhD. And I thought, this is not right. In 2011, I decided it's time to go. And then I was fortunate that I met a very smart scientist from inkjet print technology that was developed the fastest inkjet print in Australia called Dr. Aidan O'Malley. He developed this printer to produce one page watercolor technology, 1 page per second. They have 79,000 nozzles on it. It was the most advanced print technology ever developed at that time. And then he joined the group with that experience of inkjet print because everybody was going towards a different technology to print cells. Have you seen those printers with plastic that they put a syringe, they squeeze the plastic and then it comes and melts and do the...
Yep. And it's more done in layers, those ones.
Yeah. That's called extrusion. That's why when you hear about 3D print, everybody's talking about. We went to the most difficult thing. We went that drop printing technology. For doing that, I needed to get the material science of the chemistry of the bio. We need to create our own bioweek to support the cells and not damage the cells. That GLAs in a fraction of a second. And the hardware, the software, and the biology to do everything. Everybody was working together. I went to the University of New South Wales with the idea. I discussed that with some professors there. We started to collaborate and work together. Inventia was developing the hardware. Department of Chemistry at University of New South Wales, the direction of Professor Justin Goody got the material science, the chemistry, and Professor Maria Cavalares from the UNSW Children's Cancer Institute come up with the biological application of this technology.
In terms of from the health sciences side, you've actually been doing the hardware. You've brought in people who have experience literally printing on paper. Okay.
Aidan O'Malley was in here. The whole knowledge was to print ink with all the problems that we have when the ink, because there's what capable of developing jet printing. There's a group in Cambridge. This is my pen. I think there was somewhere else in the US, and there was this team in Sydney. That was all the people that were able to develop that technology. And Dr. Mahoney was part leading in that technology. Developed the smallest nozzles, the fastest printing. They have 79,000 nozzles. You can actually to Google and type memjet to see the speed of how they produce those photocopies. And Nathan joined the group with very early stage. See a cell before he has to go to a biology lab and learn how to cultivate cells. It was interesting to see him putting a lab coat and walk into biology lab and do the cell culture. Yeah.
Because the cell, this is your ink, right? This is what in terms of the analogy, this is the ink that you're putting into the printer.
Yeah, and then we work together. Then because the ink has to be able to pass, and the ink has to be able to support the cells and not kill. What we found is we developed technology that's much more, it's very fast, extremely fast, but it's much more gentle to the cells and actually prepare manually. Because when you push things to a fluid liquid, there's a lot of shame on the surface of cells, and when you manipulate cells, they can be damaged, and we don't want that because they interfere with the experiment. And then we have to study the viability cells after it's being printed to process according to the cells, right?
So in terms of what you're doing, it's super sophisticated and the science is fascinating. but you don't start that sort of stuff. And you're dealing with multinational pharmaceutical companies, helping them to develop drugs and cures and all that sort of stuff, right? Who were the key backers? Because this is not something you just sort of start. Companies start off in a couple of customers and away they go and they slowly build up. This is not that type of business, right? You're talking about needing millions of dollars pretty much from day one. Who were the key people that, or firms that backed you?
What happened is 2011, I had already a company for you. In fact, I have some cash that I was saving for that myself. Then I mortgaged my house and everything. And then I created a company in Queensland called Inventia Technologies to provide IVF for bovines for the Queensland farmers. The technology, because I'm from Brazil, that too, I brought a group of Brazilians. I opened the company, the Queensland Institute of Medicine, in 2012, and the company started to generate cash for me to finance those projects in Sydney. And then in 2013, with Professor Good and Professor Cavalaris, we received a government fund, linked grant, that's with university, do research. It means I pay part of the grant, cash by the federal government, and universities contribute to that. That kept us going until 2017. In 2017, it started to become too big because we already have time. We have a proof of concept. This thing was work. I need injection of capital. That's when I went out looking for VC fund, and I was fortunate to meet the people from Blackbird VC.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, Nikki. We've had Nikki on the show.
Yeah, and I knew when I met them that because they understood what the proposals were doing, and we got along extremely well. It was a very good match for that time. And then together with angel investors, have the first seed capital raising. That means I financed it from 2011 to 2017. From then on, there was capital seeds came on board. In 2018, there was very successful. We wanted to raise 5 million. There was a very strong demand. We got the best VC funds in Australia. We got Blackbird VC being the lead investor, Skip Capital from the Atlassian Group, 3 main sequence from CS Prisma, from the Luca Bongiorno from Transfield, and then few angels investors. That was our series B. And then we have to oversubscribe. We went to 10 million instead of 5 that were originally planned. And then 2021, we did our series B, and led by Blackbird UC and Skip Capital as well. And we have investors from Europe and Prisma and other angels the same participate before. And just recently, we closed our series B extension with the leading by 10 Mile and main tree. Sorry, not Airtree, Blackbird VC. Yeah.
Well, how much VC money have you raised along the way?
Probably around 50 million.
Yeah. And the considerations around that, obviously you talked about the relationship you had with the guys at Blackbird. How sorts of relationships with the people and the businesses that come into your company and the way that works? What sort of consideration you give to that process?
I think one thing that I know is many people cannot work with them. If they don't propose what you're doing, no matter they don't share the way you want to run the business, become very difficult. That's what I found is working and Blackbird has been extremely helpful because they make important helpful advice. They also at the same time let us run the business the way we believe it has to be done. That balance, I think we've got balance here. Yeah.
And presumably those guys patient as well. It would be easy for the wrong investors to want returns, want certain things done. If you're the right, they understand the business and what you're trying to do. They understand how much time this stuff can take. Yeah. And I imagine that's really important too, having people experience and understanding.
Absolutely, because what happens is in Australia, there's especially this industry that I create something that you don't know. What we call, when we start, is you have to, but it takes 6 months and then takes 2 years because we're dealing with things that are totally unknown, especially the complexity of what we're doing. Have those small drops landing on precision on the page. Well, we talk about precision here. And large number of those drops being, the machine moving very fast. We need to, because one thing that we have is be left outside for too long, is the speed is essential, right? And those drops in their place every time, all the time. We actually have to we have to build a lot of instruments for us to be able to do our work. And then if you go downstairs in our lab here, there's a lot of instruments that people may have anyone that walk into that lab bought that instrument. because it's very nice, very well built. It's a box there. This is something that our engineers built because it didn't exist. And then you have to build that for you to do the document, right? And then that becomes, you found a problem that you didn't know was going to hit you. And then you think, then there's the time to spend to find how long it's going to take to find this problem, what's causing it. You need to do lots of tests, lots of data. And then we have to have a lot of people here with computer ability to analyze data to see why is this not behave the way it behaves. And then once you found the problem, you have to find the solution. Right? And that can take much longer time than you forecast. And that's you have the salary. And that's why it's difficult to develop this type of. And lots of business in Australia, lots of successful business software that doesn't have that. What we create is something that people say you create something that's generational. The important thing as well is when we create the core technology, what we have application not only for medical research field, we are already using this called human application for clinical application. We have our core technology is a medical device that is already going to, we plan to have the first human trial in December this year. We already done all the animal studies that are necessary to be able to pass to a human trial. And we're going to be able to print a skin in patient after injury. Let's say someone has an injury and then you go to a hospital, they take cells. Currently they take cells from, instead of doing the way that we put those cells in our printer, and then you print the cells plus this extracellular matrix into the skin of patient, means that you can help them heal much faster and have other properties that shows that by doing that, you help the healing. We have the animal studies that show that this is beneficial, right?
Okay, that's fascinating. How many people are in the business now, Julio?
We have around 60, and we have probably 10 in the US and 4 in Europe. And then we have one in Japan, one in Korea, and one in China. And then we have distributors in India, Singapore, China, Korea, and Japan. We have the Asia Pacific, we use distributors. In the US and Europe, we have direct sales team, and we have distributors.
Yeah. And in terms of your own leadership style and you as an entrepreneur, what were your things from when you started the business? Presumably not got much business experience when you very first started.
Well, I have a bit of experience because I was a manager for a large US company for many years and actually create product into this company from Australia. It was a US company, never happened before. I create inside that company a little business generating revenue system. Right? I hire everyone, I train everyone, means that by the time I create Inventia in 2006, I left my PhD and I went to work for a corporate.
Okay, so you gain some of those skills of managing teams and developing products, post the academic side and the research side. And okay, yep.
I worked for this company. Then the business group became extremely successful. I was very successful in hiring, training everyone in the business. And then I left in 2006 and created Inventia, my own company. And then I create the business, the revenue that I needed to do some contract manufacturing. And then I create the company in Queensland. Have to create a company from zero, from nothing. And today it's been operated since 2012. One of the biggest company doing IVF for bovines in Australia. One of the most successful in the world in terms of the productivity and the quality of the work. Is that I have that background experience already, but at this size, for example, the company I used to work for was large multinational operations. I used to go to a factory. The system really liked me and gave me, that's the reason I was able to create product, so I can do whatever you like. If someone tries to stop you, tell that I back you right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And freedom, how important is that? And how do you try to do that with your people?
Well, if you hire people, you have to make sure that you trust them, that they can do. And I was very fortunate that I have a talented group of people, and they deliver things. And a lot of skills I have that I'm not good at, they complement themselves. We have a team where you can see that all the skills are kind of on the room together. And I have this ability to work with people that they present problem. I give my suggestions, I give my insights. And then they have the insights, and then we have a collaborative way of working. I found very difficult to work with people that you say something and they say no is impossible. We have a very funny story here with Aiden from the printing technology, because I'll tell Aiden I want to do something, and you tell me, oh, that's not going to be possible, it doesn't exist. And then you go climb it because he's an alpinist. And then he come back on the next day, I found a solution for what you proposed me. And then from there, he always tell me, Julio, come up with crazy ideas, right? And then the next day he said, oh, I know how to do what you propose. Is that I push the boundaries of the scientists to create things that in first inside and say, oh, I know how we can do that.
How do you foster that in your people? Or they already that? Is that, when you employ people who have that mindset? Because everything you're doing is pushing the boundaries. Everything you're doing is, even when you have to invent your own machinery and hardware just to try and solve the next problem. I mean, that most businesses don't have to do that. So
yeah, the people
how
here,
important is that mindset?
I was fortunate that because I think not only Aiden is very good at picking good engineers. He select the people that can, and Cameron, the CEO that I met back in 2013 as well, that was doing PhD at Wollongong. And I say, Cameron, you're going to join us. Actually, Cameron Fairs, our CEO, and he's very talented as well. And then we all three of us has this ability to see. Normally at the beginning, we always interview people to make sure that I go for the culture fit, for the ability to, that they describe the ability to think that way, to get things done that way. They have the ability to get the tech expertise. So those people has that tech expertise that I did. And then we were able to form a very, very talented. Imagine we need to raise $50 million. We have comparison with industry similar to ours overseas that have spent a huge, much more significant amount of funds than we did to be where we are today because of that ability to, because, salary have to be 50, and it have to be very economical because we don't have that excessive amount of fund that you would see overseas there.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge that you find for business in the biosciences space?
There was the risk of this development of the science that I mentioned to you, that you plan something's going to happen in 6 months and it takes 2 years. That's a big challenge. Yeah. And then there's the challenge of creating something new. When we go, especially now we go to the market, to educate people about. I remember when I started this, people I went to Dublin to be some scientists there to try to promote the product when I was there. And you see very talented, very smart scientist, very senior scientist. He has that knowledge, his back. Until I remember, like you see in the face of people, one penny drop. But it takes a long time, and people come from a point of incredulity because they don't believe it's possible to do what we claim that we have to do. And then after that, people try to continue doing the things in the same way. They don't understand that when you're doing something, you get some new revolutionary technology. Don't use the same thinking process that you'll be using for what you do. You have to shift everything. And a lot of people are not comfortable with this shift. It means it takes time for people to understand that they need to think is much better than what they're doing. They need to think much bigger. That's a challenge we face with introducing something totally new, because when you try to do something new, if let's say you're doing things all your life in one way, humans are not comfortable in change and think different. So look, you don't need to think the way you think before. You have to throw away everything that you knew and start to think in a different way. And how do you tell someone that's very senior professional, many years in academia, that they need to learn everything again because that way they're doing is not the way you should be doing it. And that's what I think the challenge we face now in terms of getting the product out there. But it's common.
Does it get easier?
Yes, because once the example I can do was the bovine IVF in Queensland, right? We face similar problem. Before us, there was a lot of operators that went to Queensland and promised the world about bovine IVF and caused a lot of damage to farmers in terms of financial loss and ruin to a lot of people. When I think bovine IVF, I was almost people wanted to kick me out of the house, right? Because they heard about that and they said, "Come, this guy, don't ever mention that word in front of me again." And it took like 2 or 3 years. Very few people are using it, right? And then one very advanced farmer in Queensland, one of the very well known to be the most innovative Brahma breeder, he started to use us for everything he was doing. And then And then he started to get results. But then when you would go 3 years later, 2 years later, when he's selling his books that were generated by IVF, you get a much higher price on the auctions. It was a very significant difference in price from the books that were being selling on the same day. And then people started saying, why is this guy getting all this money and we're getting nothing, right? And then as soon as those sales, those people start to come, and then from there on, go. We have a publication by the Mayo Clinic in a conference in cancer last week. Everybody knows that the Mayo Clinic is good. We have a press release with the Merck Sharp and Dohme in the UK about using our technology for creating models for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Again, the reason there is no many treatment for Parkinson's now, there's no many models of the disease out there. And now we have models that are very, very to what happened in humans, because there is models creating in mice or rats. They're not the same. They develop Alzheimer's and they were here too. And we have 6 of them took this instrument, and a large part of them took second unit. There's another, some of them already took the third unit. Means that people start to take notice, well, why does farmers are buying this instrument? The only thing is it doesn't happen the speed that we like, because people take their time. I remember there was a technology called PCR. You're probably familiar now with PCR because of the COVID. I remember the development of PCR went to this very flat line until it took a upturn. That's, I think we kind of we see in our literature production of our technology that we kind of see a little increase. And then becomes easier to sell when you know that you can tell, look, these people already use it. Yeah. The more someone uses it, the easier it becomes.
Yeah, it makes sense. What was the best advice you were ever given along the way from a business perspective or in any perspective?
I thought about that one thing. If you believe something, don't let people influence you because they don't believe it. If you truly believe it, you know that. Of course, go out, seek advice. There's a professor from the university I met, for Julio. That's important. Your team that has till the standard that you have. For example, even in my life work for this US company, I have very high standard of expect from my staff. People knew we have a very happy work environment, but if you get an email from a client, there's a limit. I'm not saying you have to respond to delight people. One of the things that I remember visiting client company was not very popular before I joined. After a few years, I remember the way people receive us when I was going to meeting. Even the people in reception smiled because they say, "Oh, you guys are amazing, right?" Everyone will say, and they hear the people to time. There was a lot of phone calls. It's, "Oh, you guys seem to have a good time in there." And then they'll remember name of people in the office. Say, "Oh, they say hello to that side to side." It was really almost like having a ball. It was really enjoyable going to work and have the best team. And your clients were extremely delighted with what you did. And it didn't take long for after I left for the business backwards in that aspect.
Back to old habits.
Yeah. And they become from benefit drives, everything. And the other thing I think is very important is the happiness in the workplace. You make sure that we built this facility here. Lots of care is to make sure that the place, the environment is enjoyable. It's not about showing you anything. It's about make sure that there's a pleasantry, a place where people want to go and spend time.
When you talk about the previous business where the sort of you've come in and you've been able to turn it into a place where you delight the customers and the people you deal with and the staff and the people who work there are enjoying what they're doing and they're happy and having a ball. How do you do that?
And there's a customer, many people, when I see the way a customer being treated in my own company, I say, I would not be happy if someone treated me like that. When I go to a shop, I always watch this person out there because I was a sales manager and stuff. And sometimes I go, look, mate, you're not being a good salesperson. You need to know. What do you need a salesperson for? Is someone that understands your needs, knowledge of the product, and see how your needs by your knowledge of the product. I have clients who have big companies that I went to 2000. They want to develop this instrument. And they want to do it in a way that will be a disaster. But I told them, if you do this way, you're going to cause ruin to your business. I become almost like a consultant. I spent almost 5 years working with them, become one of the most successful instruments ever developed in Australia. The instrument became so successful that the company that created the instrument was more valuable than the others. And I spent every morning, for 5 years out, they would call me for everything. And I was not, the benefit for me is I was making them successful. They become one of my biggest clients internationally. Then they start to use my operations in Europe, and I have to go and visit them because we manufacture some of the products for them. And then I developed that field that I have here, my personal life and business. The success of everyone around you is your success. And then I think that's why you create an environment of work. And I truly live by that thing. I go out of my way to make everyone around me successful. I have met a lot to grow, to business people, and my lives and in business. You have to make one around you successful because I learned that by I have a lot of more what they start to deal with. And I used to give them advice and be almost like for free. Then later on, they become my client. A success becomes my success.
Yeah. I love that idea. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So what's next for the business? What's the future hold? Because obviously there's some cutting edge stuff. I'm really interested to see where you think things go.
We just scratch the surface with that because the models that we can create is unlimited. The sophistication of those models and the importance that, because one thing that people forget, I did my PhD on bladder cancer and I used to go to the hospital every morning to treat myself from the same department that people go. I used to put myself under the X-ray machine because I used to use the same treatment that people were getting. And I used to watch the stuff of those people there every day. For years and years, I'll go there. And I want to do something that makes a difference. Imagine that we can help develop treatment for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Yeah.
That makes a massive difference to the delivery of this drug. I was seeing a presentation the other day. A person was able to publish a paper 6 months after getting our instrument, instead of 3, 4, 5 years that people before.
Wow.
And that makes a difference because you get the person got the instrument and 6 months they have a publication out there with results. And
you're just accelerating things, aren't you?
We want to accelerate because I'm an engineer. I used to say medicine takes so long. Imagine when you go to a hospital today, than when I was in my PhD in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it's just a little bit more progress. But look at the iPhone, right? Or the computer, how it evolved. And that's what we want to bring, this type of revolution to medical science. And the next thing is our tissue engineering business, medical device business. Imagine someone who have massive injury. Imagine those people in Ukraine, a large number of people today that needs to be rebuilt in their life. Imagine if we could use this technology, the organs that the skin they did to operate, to have a normal life. I think that I keep thinking all the time. The large number of people in Ukraine that would need to have treatment and most of the people are very young. Right? Yeah. And that's where I think this technology, if we assemble a group of scientists that can use all this technology combined to say, okay, let's go and start to treat all these young people victims of war in Ukraine. And now
so many applications across so many many areas of the body.
Bone replacement, cartilage, skin, organs, everything. There's so many things that this can be combined with. We have to merge all knowledges and combine them to create that fast development. Now people using AI plus very fast. Because, for example, I have this first idea to create this way you could develop it because the computer will not be able to cope with the demand to adjust the speed of the printing for the drug to land at the same time. Because what we have in our technology is the nozzle is moving and it knows where it is and it knows where it has to be ejected to land a precise location with another drop as well. And then the computer has to calibrate for the difference between the nozzle ejection, because we have to characterize each nozzle to see the ejection characteristic of them. Because no one that something leaves a nozzle, it can leave in different direction. It has to be characterized. And the computer is able to do that. And then it would be impossible to do that fast.
And in terms of the future and that sort of stuff, what point do you look at it and go, we can accelerate this so much more quickly if we X amount more money? That's got to be something that is on your mind because, if you have X amount more dollars, so much more you can do. But at the same time, how do you weigh those considerations up around how much to raise and when and those types of things?
Yeah, that's the thing, because we need to fulfill our obligation with our current the business, take the business. But at the same time, for example, there's a lot of, we have been doing this for the last, we know there's a lot of improvements that we can, if we have more ability to pay more engineers, have more, we could accelerate that. on the skin project, this legal project. We got the investment, a grant from Medical Device Fund from South. If we get more grants, more, we instead of doing the clinical trial, we could have done it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what they have a very small group of skin project. And when I go there and look at it, I say, look, we should have here 20 people working on that and getting more clinical trials. And that's the more ability to pay for more animal studies, much more frequent. Sometimes there's the issues where is, for example, the ability to do studies with animal. We have to wait like 6 months, 3 months, 4 months to book for the facility, to wait for them to bring that. It means that all these things that it's not because we could not have it when we book for animal study or the next one you have available 4 months down the track. And then imagine something goes wrong, or now I'm going to another 4 months. That's things that would help.
So I'm fascinated to see what holds for you and the company. Julio, it's been fantastic talking to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jan. Nice to meet you, and you're welcome to visit us if you like. We have a new headquarters in
Absolutely.
Sydney. I think you're going to be even more impressed.
Yeah, we'd love to come and have a visit and have a look around. Sounds great.